Welcome back once again, everyone, and today I will be ranking every Studio Series 86 and Gamer Edition figure that had been released in 2024. A separate ranking video will be done for the Studio Series live action movie characters and the characters we got for the recently released movie Transformers 1. So, with that out the way, let's dive straight into the one that is going to be lower on the list. And if it isn't clear, my number one should not come as a surprise considering this was a figure I really enjoyed. Coming in at the number 10th spot is a tie and joint between Core Class Steeljaw and Voyager Blaster with eject. Now, Steeljaw would have just been an honorable mention had I not gotten Blaster. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blaster is a redeco, he is a new mold that was released in the Legacy line in 2022, but this figure is done in better colors with a much better eject. Now, the eject was definitely people's point of contention because the original Legacy version of eject was done in clear plastic. Here, he's painted in solid plastic. And this piece, not the blast effect, the subwoofer, came with Steeljaw. Now, there is a piece that I attached onto Blaster's back that came with Steeljaw, so he could have it. Now, the speaker was never used in the 86 movie itself. It was just something Blaster used in his first battle with Soundwave in the Season 2 G1 episode, Autobop. I believe that was the episode. That aside, yes, he is a redeco, hence why he's lower on the list, but he's still one of the better generation's Voyagers, especially to counter the Earthrise / Legacy Soundwave, until they decide to do a new Earth Mode Soundwave in Series 86, which they're probably going to do. But with that said, I think Blaster still stands on his own, and, Steeljaw, we got him. We did get Rewind with Twin Cast, which leaves us with Ramhorn. Whether or not they'll do Rewind separately in better colors and not in solid plastic, we'll have to wait and see. But again, as he stands, get yourself this figure in case you missed out on the Legacy version, because if you did miss out on the Legacy version, then you're in luck, even though this specific figure was a Target exclusive. Scrapping in at number 9 goes to the Voyager class Scrap Heap, who, as you guys can tell, is a heavy retool of the Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar and Junk Heap or Junkyard that we got in the previous years. Now, the head, legs, chest, and shoulders have all been retooled, as well as the front of the motorcycle mode, which, is hidden inside. Now, the ab crunch that he still has is present, though I feel like it's not as noticeable here like it is on Wreck-Gar. And again, as he stands, he is a pretty good figure, especially for a retool. And I was debating whether he or the number 8 spot was going to go on number 9. And as for weaponry, he doesn't come with the axe that Wreck-Gar or Junk Heap came with. Instead, he comes with a new blaster that does come with his animation model, whether or not he used it in the movie or in the subsequent 3rd season of the cartoon. So there's not really much to write home about. He's just a retool, but a really good retool of one of the better Voyagers to come out of not just Studio Series, but generations in recent years. Is he a must-have? Not really, but, I got him because I really like the mold, and because I'm all for underrated characters, especially like the Junkions. Springing into action at number 8 goes to the Leader Class Springer. Now, this figure and Scrap Heap were interchangeable for me because this figure would have been number 9 due to the fact that he is a retool of the Siege Voyager class Springer. Now, aside from the new weapons, he's pretty much the same figure that we got back in 2019's Siege toy line. Now, they did retool him to be a bit more cartoon accurate with the shoulders and a callback to the 86 movie where he had this little blaster piece on his right arm, though that was only used for one specific scene, hence why I'm showing it here, as otherwise it's really not something that you'll notice. Now, one thing they did retool, not instead of just the shoulders, was the hands and making them more articulated, which is probably the reason why he ended up higher than Scrap Heap, and also because he is a triple changer and one of my favorite triple changers to come out of generations in recent years, because the Thrilling 30 figure was a good figure for its time. However, I personally think Cedar Series 86 is a lot better than the Thrilling 30's figure, and I already had that same thought with the Siege figure that I may or may not sell or give away, but I may keep that figure considering I never had a lot from Siege, as I unfortunately missed out on most of them. So for those who did miss out on Siege Springer and didn't want the Wreck and Rule version of Springer, which was done in his toy aggregate colors, then this is your opportunity to get Springer, since not only does he come with a better blaster and sword, as the other blasters were a carryover from Siege, he comes with a new helicopter blade / sword piece that I personally just leave on the back, since it's not something I think he'll use, as, you know, animation tends to fluctuate with G1, and this is meant to be his actual sword rather than, the helicopter blades. But with that said, I still think he's worth the pickup for those who missed out on the Siege version. Coming in at spot number 7 goes to the War for Cybertron Gamer Edition Deluxe Class Decepticon Soldier, and as evident by the fact that he is a soldier, I bought 3 of him. The third one is on my shelf. I brought out the second one just to show that he's basically a troop builder. And later in 2025, this year, we are going to be getting an Autobot soldier to counter him. Now, unfortunately for us, he is a heavy retool of the Gamer Edition Barricade that many regard as being one of, if not the worst, Gamer Edition figure thus far. However, the soldier improves upon that in many ways. Like, as a mold, it's not up to par or up to standard with what we get with Generations. If anything, this feels like an older 2010 figure due to the lack of articulation in the feet and simple transformation. However, he is much better than Barricade, which is sad to say because many people had hopes for that figure, and then we had hopes for this figure. So for this figure to outdo a main character, as these guys are just generics to shoot at when you play in the Autobot campaign, I still think getting multiples of these, whether or not you just want 2 or 3, is still worth it, especially even if you're not going to transform them, because I only transformed this guy a couple of times, and he does come with the Neutron Assault Rifle as seen in the game, which I feel like I should mention that when it comes to these Gamer Edition figures and their weapons. Now obviously you can give the rifle to any of your other Gamer Edition figures depending on whether you have any of them as well. But with that aside, I still think he's worth the pickup. I don't recommend him for everyone, however, unless you're a big army builder. Otherwise, you can just get 1 and call it a day. But if you are an army builder, you can get, at the very least, 3. Swiping in at spot number 7 goes to War for Cybertron Sideswipe in the Gamer Edition line. Now, I like this figure. I never had the original Fall of Cybertron toy of Sideswipe, and it's a good thing because that figure was a retool of Fall of Cybertron Jazz, also released during the older days of Generations. Now, he is unfortunately lacking in the ankles, but he does have a bit of waist swivel. And he does come with the Photon Burst Rifle. He briefly used, well, I say briefly, well, he did use it throughout the level he appeared in, which was the same level where you had to fight Soundwave. I am forgetting the name. I think it was the K-On! Prison Break chapter. With that aside, I think he is one of the better entries into the Gamer Edition line. He doesn't suffer from barricade syndrome, where, despite the figure looking good in vehicle mode, Sideswipe looks good in both modes, though, has some compromises, since it is impossible to translate some designs into a figure form. Sideswipe isn't one of those, because, they mostly got him down to a T. Backpack Kibble is, there, but, it's compact. And yes, I did tab in his actual arm in place of the burst rifle. Now, if you are a fan, like me, of the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron games and designs, then I think this is a must-have for those who like Sideswipe's character, playing as him in the game. Now, I never owned War for Cybertron, but I am a bit biased towards this design because I had the Cybertron Adventures Wii game, which was the closest I was ever going to get to playing any form of the Cybertron games. But with that said, especially for a Cybertronian Sideswipe, for those who are looking for a Cybertronian mode of that character, this is a really good figure. Buzzing into the number 5 spot goes to the Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bumblebee. A brand new mold that is not reusing anything from the Netflix War for Cybertron Earthrise Bumblebee, who was a retool of the Earthrise Cliffjumper. And if history has taught us anything, this Bumblebee is likely going to be retooled to give us another Cliffjumper, because Hasbro is going to want to make money off of this mold. Now, he is not an officially licensed Volkswagen Beetle, which is one advantage Bumblebee and the Goldbug retool we got later on in Legacy has an advantage over. But to be fair, all of the characters in the G1 cartoon weren't, licensed approximations of the actual real-life vehicles. So, therefore, Hasbro doesn't have to worry about vehicle licensing with the G1 characters, as they are just replicas of the actual real-life vehicles. With that aside, I think this is, even for a small figure like this, gonna be one to sit on the shelves, because Hasbro decided for some reason that this Bumblebee and Studio Series Transformers 1 Optimus, who will be in my movie Studio Series ranking video, should be in the level A assortment, because Optimus Prime and Bumblebee are Hasbro's big name characters, which is expected. But again, as he stands, I think he's a really good Bumblebee figure, one that, I wouldn't say surprised me, but I do like the transformation on him. I wouldn't say he's better than the Netflix figure. I feel like that figure has a disadvantage in that he parts forms. This figure just transforms without the parts forming, since they just slapped it on the back. And yeah, he does have some neat tricks, but aside from that, he's just another Bumblebee on the shelf. Speaking of Bumblebees on the shelf, here is a Bumblebee that actually kind of took me by surprise, considering no one expected him to be released in this line, and that is Reactivate Bumblebee from the cancelled Transformers Reactivate video game. And I say cancelled because, as of this recording, the game has officially been shut down and cancelled further development, which means the toys that we are getting for Reactivate may or may not see the light of day, even though we have Starscream, Soundwave, and Optimus Prime released in 2-packs, with Bumblebee and Starscream having been released in a 2-pack prior. Hasbro, for whatever reason, decided Gamer Edition should include Reactivate, and so they decided to put out Bumblebee as soon as they could, unaware that Reactivate was under development hell, and was still under development hell. But they made toys for the game just to promote it. But unfortunately, said promotion isn't going anywhere. But as this figure stands, he's actually quite decent, even though he is lacking a waist joint, which I feel should be unnecessary for figures like this, because he feels like a pre-2019 figure. And I say pre-2019 because 2019 is where, Siege and early Studio Series kicked off and actually gave us foot joints, waist joints, and, wrist swivel. And with the rare occasions of opening hands and ab crunch. But as this Bumblebee stands, he would have been much lower. If I'm going to be honest, he would have been much lower than Sideswipe, who probably should have been much higher, considering I like that design and that character a lot more. But I kind of just bought him as an impulse buy. So I don't really have much else to say about him. Scheming his way into spot number 3 goes to the Gamer Edition War for Cybertron Voyager class Starscream. Now, there is controversy behind this figure, mainly due to the overly large cockpit. But that's just a minor issue. The figure itself is actually a really well done Voyager, and somehow is better than the deluxe Starscream, and I will be bold to say that this is better than the deluxe Fall of Cybertron Starscream from 2012, because he comes with his null ray, and the arm can actually swap out for the null ray, which I feel like is going to be the common thing with all Gamer Edition figures. But if you don't like that, then you can just keep the arm on and have him hold it like an actual sniper rifle. Articulation is good. He comes with the mace weapon that he did use in the game. He has all the necessary joints you would expect from a Voyager, or at least modern Voyagers. Now, again, is he a bad figure? No. I just think the hate he's gotten is really down to the overly large cockpit and, that taking away from full-on accuracy. Though, to be fair, that's also the fault of the jet mode having that cockpit and, the actual nose cone being folded inside rather than hanging off here, which is something the original Deluxe managed to accomplish, which is the one saving grace of that original figure. But even then, considering Hasbro had about 10 years to, get this design again at a bigger scale, I won't say they fumbled the ball. I will admit that they should have backtracked on what they were doing when engineering this figure before putting him out at mass retail, because his fellow Seekers, Skywarp and Thundercracker, who will be releasing soon. Skywarp is already out right now, and Thundercracker is soon to release later in 2025. So what I'm saying about Starscream will apply to Skywarp and Thundercracker. However, unlike them, Skywarp has a different weapon, and Thundercracker will likely follow with a different weapon as well. So they're not reusing Starscream's null ray, as the null ray is specific to this character. Taking the runner-up spot at spot number 2 goes to the Voyager class War for Cybertron Ratchet, released in Studio Series Gamer Edition. Now, unlike Starscream and the other 2024 Studio Series Gamer Edition figures, this Ratchet is by far one of the better, if not one of the best, Voyager class molds from not just Studio Series, but also of the War for Cybertron line, because the only other Voyager that was actually well received was Optimus Prime from 2023, and even then, he was, well, that's for another time. He does come with his axe that he used in the game, which we will see with the inevitable Ironhide, who also got revealed and will come out during the summer of 2025 later this year. And and he comes with his repair ray, which, I believe it's a repair ray because it's not, another blaster weapon. Now I did, mistransform him just so I could hide the arm and to have the repair ray in place. I don't know what the actual thing is called, so that's what I'm referring to it as, considering that's what he uses when you play as the character, because he is the Autobots medic. So there's a lot to like about this figure, despite the little bit of back kibble that, does compress, and, using fake pieces to replicate this part of the alt mode, because this is not the actual front, it's just a replication, and there's the arm. But again, as he stands, I like the complex transformation, considering despite the simple design, it's a complex design to make into a figure. Now, as much as I like him, there is one figure, and that is from Studio Series 86, that is going to take the top spot on this list. If anyone is really surprised, Studio Series 86 Swoop is my number one of best Studio Series 86 figure, while Ratchet came in as my favorite Studio Series Gamer Edition figure, and these are just the figures of 2024. Now, he is the final Dinobot we needed to complete the 86 Dinobots as a whole, and Swoop did not disappoint. Swoop did not disappoint. Coming with not only his sword, he came with a second sword that was meant for Studio Series 86 Grimlock. So for those of you who have Studio Series 86 Grimlock, you know where that sword is going to. He comes with his 2 missile launchers, to which I added blast effects, as the missiles themselves, both the launcher and the rockets, are blast effect compatible. I love the transformation, despite it being simple, but then again, Swoop was always much more simple in comparison to the other Dinobots, considering he transforms like the Decepticon Seekers with their jet transformations. The articulation is on point. I mean, he doesn't have, opening hands like the other dinos, but to be fair, you don't really need opening hands when you got ankle tilt, wrist joint, waist joint, and you're an overall dynamic figure despite being a leader class. Ratchets are good, though he doesn't have any of them in the shoulders. And the Pteranodon mode is just as beautiful as this figure is himself. And for those of you who are completing your Studio Series 86 collection, or you want a really good figure, especially for those of you who are fans of the Dinobots, regardless of where you came from, I still highly recommend this figure, as he will definitely be in my top 20 of favorite figures of 2024, because he is definitely one of my favorite Studio Series figures that came out in 2024. And that's a wrap, you guys. I want to thank you for joining me in this ranking video, and whether or not this or my live action movie ranking video for the movie Studio Series figures will be up before this or after this, you will just have to wait and see until I get them up on the channel. But until then, I will see you guys next time.